Yo, what is up, guys? It's Otto from Bass Brothers, and welcome to another Hardstyle tutorial. Today, we are doing this. And as you can hear, it's a D-Sturb style hardstyle lead thingy. And I was lying, we're not making this today. I'm showing you what's in this little thing. And before you ask, yes, this is coming for free, the whole project, the presets and everything. But we are going to wait until we have our new website ready and launched. We have a store coming up, so every single artist lead type will be there for free to download. Anyways, let's get on to the whole project, and let's start with the lead. So here's everything we made, and first let's dive into the lead part of this whole sound mayhem. And I muted the chords, the low part of the melody, and also the bass line. So the lead on its own sounds like this. And now let's listen all the layers on their own, but bear in mind that now that I mute some of the layers, the processing is going to sound a little bit different because these are all routed into a bus and there's some compressions and so on, so it's gonna change a lot. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's start with the first layer, and the first layer sounds like this. Second one. Third one. And the fourth one. And once more all together. And now let's look what we have here. And every single lead layer is a silent one. And if you want to copy the exact settings before we are releasing these presets, by all means pause the video and copy them as good as you can. So that might be also a good way to learn stuff. So the first layer, we have both A and B part used here. And basically it's a saw and square wave type of sound, and actually it's quite heavily used the chorus because in this specific song and this lead there is some metallic sound which we couldn't recreate fully. I'm not sure what's behind that sound, but at least somewhat close you can get with a chorus. So basically this is a quite heavily detuned saw wave and a, what is this called, quarter pulse wave. As usual, like we like to do in all our leads, we open up the attack a little bit, and there's nothing else processed here on the A part. And the B part is basically just a mono layer. We have a half pulse and we have a saw wave. Both have the re-triggers on because they only work in mono settings, and also change the phase a little bit on the on the half pulse, and bear in mind the phase knobs only work in full mono settings, so it doesn't matter if you put 8 voices and do something with the phase, there's basically nothing happening. Then we have a little bit of overdrive and chorus. And of course, you can pause the video and copy the settings you like. We also have some gliding notes, so we have the mono legato turned on, and this will be on all the other lead layers as well. So I'm not getting into that anymore. And that was the first layer. The second layer was like this. And basically this is a hypersaw with a, well, I tried with a pitch envelope. This is basically nothing, so we can delete this. And yeah, just some playing around with the filters here. Actually, if I remember correctly, this was some other guy's preset, but I can't remember who made this originally. It's just slightly altered to fit into this one. And again, pause if you need. Here's the A part. Here's the B part. Now the third layer. This is quite super heavily detuned saw lead, as you can hear. And this is basically to make some, it's not making noise, it's making more like a detuned body and adding more harmonics to the whole lead. And this is quite heavily also pitched with LFOs, different types. We have a ramp here, and rate is set to 132 of a note, and it's pitching the both oscillators and just a little bit gain. And then we have a noise wave here with maximum rate, and it's creating the buzzing sound. Again, we have here a pitch envelope, which we are not using because it was unnecessary. Some playing with the cutoffs here to shape the sound a little bit more, and yeah, these are also unnecessary. There you go. And some chorus. Again, trying to recreate the D-Sturb metallic sound, but this is the closest we could do it. Some EQ here, but these EQs can be also done in the mixer part. Yes, and the last one. Let's do the other one. This is basically this is based on the first layer, but this is more, how to say, this is more like a Headhunters type of lead, if you would say. It's quite a buzzing sound, and it's more like a saw lead, but we also have a pulse wave here to, you know, create different kind of harmonies in the whole sound. But here we used a pitch module envelope. I think it was needed just a little bit. We had it on all the layers, but decided to cut off them from all the others except from this layer. Yeah, nothing too special about these. Quite familiar LFO settings with the pitch and with distortion, overdrive, and so on. Nothing too fancy here. And if we go look into the mixer side, Basically, all the layers are on different mixer tracks. There's only decreasing EQs on each of the layers, just to make room for each different layer and complement what they are supposed to be doing. For example, here on the first one, we cut out the mid frequencies and also the very high, the very top frequencies to make room for other layers which are filling out those frequencies that were cut out from here. And there's also some chorus here. Just trying to make the sound design work as close as possible to the original one, which basically is not fully there yet, but the feeling is there, the sound is not quite there. And on the lead bus, there's some heavy compression, multiband compression with the OTT. And OTT also creates some saturation. Then we use the Sound Quantizer's C preset. And also there's another type of compression. And here is a stereo imager to make the whole lead a little bit more wider. And last, some EQing. Yeah, that was the lead part, and again, the lead sounded like this. And now for the chords. And funny thing happened. I just started to record, and I recorded the whole chords part of this tutorial, and somehow the OBS cut out the whole recording after like 10 seconds. So let's do it all over again. Let's start with listening the chords as a combination with everything, all the 3 layers of the chords, then listen all of them separately, then look at the presets, and then the mixer tracks. So the chords sound like this. And the first chord layer sounds like this. Second one. And the last one. Okay, let's dive into these. And the first layer, which sounded like this, we have here, which is basically on the silent one, we have on the A part a hyper saw, and it's heavily detuned on both oscillators, and both oscillators are panned differently, so the A1 is a little bit to the left and the A2 is a little bit more to the right to make it a little bit more wider. Yes. And on the B part, we only have a 2-voice saw wave with just a little bit detuned, and it's also pitched 1 octave lower. And yeah, a little bit of chorus here and a pitch envelope to make it sound more snappy. That's it. If you want to copy these settings, you can pause the video right now. And here's the B part if you want to copy these. You can also see the chorus here. Now, layer number 2. And this is quite simple. We have a mono layer with a pulse wave, and same thing over here. A little bit lower in volume, and it's pitched 1 octave lower. And then on the B part, we have 2 different types of saw wave oscillators. We have one with 3 voices, a little bit detuned. Then we have one with 2 voices, a little bit more detuned, a little bit less volume, and this is pitched 1 octave higher. And basically, all the filters, all the LFOs, envelopes are not in use. And here's just some little EQing on the preset itself. And this is basically not that necessary for the whole sound. And if you want to copy the settings, you can pause now. And here for the B part. Now the third layer sounds like this. And this is basically heavily detuned hypersaw on the A part of the silent one. 8 voices, heavy detuned, same on the other one. Both panned again a little bit more to the right, the other one a little bit more to the left. And these are pitched 1 octave lower. Because in the first layer we had them on octave 0, and these are on -1, so they don't clash together that much. And on the B part we have a, what is this here? We have same thing, pitched 1 octave lower, and these are again quite heavily detuned saw waves. And they're both a little bit fine-tuned with the pitch. Other one a little bit up, and other one a little bit lower. And we have a slow rate pitch LFO with sine wave, and it's just enough so you might hear it or you might not. And then we have EQ settings like so, and the compressor settings as so. And this was actually this named preset from the Silent One's factory library, and there's nothing too much changed as the preset, so you can basically use this LD Supersaw preset as well. Just put the delay and the reverb off, and you're golden. There we go. Let's look at the mixer side, and just some small EQing on each layer. On the first layer we cut out a little bit on the 700 Hz. The second layer we cut out a little bit in the 2.7K, and on the third one we cut some out of 1.3K and boosted a little bit just under the 700 Hz. And these were just to, make room for everything. And on the CHORDS bus we have trusted OTT, and it's quite heavily in use. Depth is 84%, and only change the time to 90%, and that's it. And again, some Goodicizer, which is basically a multiband compression with 4 different presets, and we use the C preset here. I think it was also used in the lead bus. Then CLA compression. Again, this is really good compression. I highly recommend this. And some EQing. First of all, cut out the unnecessary low end, boosted a little bit on the 600 Hz, and cut out the 4K and boosted a little bit around 12K. And these were just to, make more body to the whole chords. Then increasing on the 4K to make room for the lead, and because we cut out the highs in the lead, we boosted here on the chords. And it was a little bit too wide on the low mids, so there's a little cut with only the side signal like so. And there's another EQ just to correct some things which could be also be done in here, but I don't know, I'm used to just open up a new EQ and do things there. Yeah, that's all for the chords. And now for the bass line. And the bass line sounds like this. This is quite quickly gone through, so there's nothing too special about this. To cut some corners, we used Nexus 2, and again, here's the first layer, and it's preset, and it sounds like this. It's a basic pulse wave. And the second layer, also Nexus 2, with a factory preset called Crust Bass, and it sounds like this. And together. And then on the mixers, on the first layer, a little bit distortion, some OTT, and cutting out around 400 Hz. And on the second layer, we cut out the sub bass, decreased a little bit on the low mids also, and both of these are routed into a bassline bus where a slight reverb is added with Neutron 3, where we have a sculptor which just equals out all the frequencies. Basically, it's a type of compression. A little EQs here with dynamic EQ points, which are working as a very precise compression on specific frequencies. Then a multiband compression to glue everything together, and lastly some multiband exciter to saturate the signal. Again, EQ to make room for the lead and for the chords, and again, just before I got this done, decreased a little bit here on this EQ. Basically, it's the same thing as you would do with another EQ like this. But this was faster, just to click here. Yeah, that's the bass lines. And now let's look at the low chords and the low lead, which sound in together like this. And these are just to make more body to the lead, which was needed, and these are routed into a different mixer tracks and a different bus, because I didn't want any reverb on these. So basically, this is just a copy. The low lead, which sounds like this, it's just a copy of this fourth layer, and it's pitched down. I think it's 1 octave lower notes than in the lead. Some multiband compression, some saturation, and a cutting EQ to cut out the unnecessary highs, because we already have those high frequencies in the lead itself. And the low chords are actually Nexus 2 preset, which is again from the factory bank, called detuned lead number 10. Disabled the delay, disabled the reverb, opened up the attack a little bit. That's it. And then we have the same chords as in the the higher chords, except these are duplicated. There are 2 different layers, and they're pitched down. So we get the lower side of the chords without them messing into the main chord bus, and they sound like this. And again, same type of thing as in the low lead. We have OTT, some saturation, and we have an EQ here to cut out the sub bass. It's not needed, and still decreasing a little bit on the low end because, quite frankly, it was too much. And these were routed into a separate bus with a high cut and a low cut. This is 1.5K and this is 270 Hz. Yeah, let's move on to the next subject. So the last thing we have here is the reverb and the delay, and the final bus where the lead bus is coming. It's routed here. The chords are routed here. The reverb and delay is routed here as well. The only things that are not routed here are the bass lines, the low chords, and the low lead. Yes. So let's mute the low melody and the bass line so it's only chords and leads. And let's listen to the reverb first. The reverb is has been done as follows. First we have a delay here, which is put the time all the way to 0.01 and the feedback almost to nothing. Basically this just phases the tri-signal a little bit from the real tri-signal, so it's not on the same time. It creates a small amount of delay. Basically it just sounds like a phaser, or because phaser and chorus and yeah, they are basically all delays, different type of delays, and this is also basically it's a phaser. Then we have a Valhalla room with the following settings, and only things which are changed from the preset, that the default preset is the time, the decay time, high cut and depth. These are all the things you need. Then we have an OTT to compress the signal a little bit. Then an EQ to cut out the unnecessary highs and lows and making some room for the lead. And we have a Waves S1 stereo imager here to make the signal more wider. And I'm using this because sometimes the FL Studio's mixer, this stereo separation doesn't sound as good as compared to this one. Sometimes you can't tell any difference. So if you can't tell any difference, then why not use this? Then we have a sidechain compression. Two types. We have the slow one, the fast one, which has an 81 millisecond release time, and it compresses around 3 decibels compared to the tri-signal. And then we have the slower one with 1.2 K milliseconds and same amount of compression to make room for the tri-lead. Then the delay. And this is basically just a ping pong delay going from left speaker to right speaker with 1/4 note timing, and it's EQ'd and cut out so it only plays more like the higher frequencies and not the lower frequencies, because in the original track you can hear it's more like you can hear high frequencies on the delay and not that much low frequencies. And again, OTT to compress the signal a little bit. And here you can visualize the EQ settings basically, which are done in the Echo Boy itself. This is basically the same thing. I'm just sculpting it a little more than in here. And a little bit more EQing. Same type of compressions here. They are both actually quite the same as in the reverb. These are copied and just tweaked a little bit on the release and on the threshold also, so we get the same amount of sidechain compression as in the lead, and it's compressing them around 3 decibels. And here we have a little bit more again in the reverb. There was 1.2k milliseconds, and here we have 1500, and now my phone is ringing way too much. Sorry about that. And now to wrap up things, we have the final bus where the delays, reverbs, chords, and leads are coming through. First of all, we have a compression here, which compresses all the frequencies equally. Then we have a multiband compression to make a different type of compression and focus on specific areas. And then we have a mid-side saturation. We have tape saturation or tape distortion, however you like to call it, on the side signal, and we use the Ozone's retro on the mid side, except on the really highs we used dual trio. And this is something I recommend you guys learn, because this makes all the difference in the whole leads. And I can play it without and then turn this on so you can hear the difference. You can see if this is bypassed or used, so you can see and hear the difference. So here's without. And now with. There you go. And there's a neutron tree after the exciter. There's some bus compression, and basically this is just trying to boost the low ends. It's compressing and equalizing all the frequencies as good as it can. Then we have an EQ here, and there's one dynamic EQ here on the low end, and again a little bit multiband compression, but again this is a parallel processing, so it's not that prominent, and a little bit more saturation at the end. And finally an EQ to cut out the unnecessary low end, and some minor tweaking as well. There you go. That's the whole lead. And we are launching the website somewhere around May, and that is the time when you will get these presets and project for free from our store. Thank you guys for watching, and you can support us by leaving a thumbs up, or commenting, or leaving a thumbs down, or subscribing, or listening to our music, or basically just doing nothing. Who cares? Do what you want. We are making this for our own amusement. This is fun. Yeah. Thank you again for watching, and see you guys again in next episode. Peace out.